Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm, a podcast for movie fans just like you. And with me, as always, is my close friend and artist, Danny Haas.
Hello.
And our close friend and movie insider, Protolexis.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Slim. I'm so excited to be on the show tonight. Thank you for having me. This week's movie, The Innocents, saw it once before, and I'm so excited to be back talking about it for the very first time. In a lot of ways, this movie, it means so much to me, but maybe the most, it changed my life.
God, unhinged. Absolutely unhinged. Every episode is connected to a theme for that month, and this time it's 60s month. We're only picking movies from the 1960s, and my pick is The Innocents, as mentioned by Proto. Black and white horror movie starring Deborah Kerr. And you can use the chapters in your podcast app to skip right to that discussion. Mogwai Synth left a review.
Okay.
Tagged the review, 70mm pod. Everyone leave the property so I can wrestle the ghost out of this young boy in the greenhouse. It should have raised more flags than it did. We had a mini Philly meetup this past weekend. Feels like an eternity ago since we're recording a little bit late. But we went to the highway with 10 or so of our closest local friends that listen to the pod. And we saw Godzilla, Proto. How'd you have a good time at the highway, seeing friends?
I did. I had a great time. I got to drive up with our buddies Throwbridge and Yoev. They're local friends from me, so we carpooled, and then we had to beat the rain because it was pouring.
Oh no!
Yeah, torrential.
Cats and dogs. And while we were walking in, walking up the main drag there in Jenkintown, going to the highway, and it's raining, and we're just trying to find our way. We have to climb up a hill. It's up a hill a block to get to the crosswalk. And this car comes down, and I see it all happen. I got my umbrella.
Oh no!
I'm on, I'm hugging the building, but Throwbridge, he's like hugging the street, and a car comes, and he gets blasted by a puddle.
What?
But he's a trooper. He just kept going.
He no-sold it. Just kept walking.
And we had a great time. I mean, what a crew, what a group. Memories were made. It was great to see Godzilla for the very first time on a big screen. Love the highway. Thank you, Grant, for taking care of us.
Yeah, as always. And then we hung out afterward, got some snackies, got some wings, got some French fries, schnitzel. I think part of you ate some schnitzel.
Love schnitzel.
Yeah, I schnitzed.
You schnitzed hard at Human Robot. But there was also, Sammy, one of our local friends, local-ish, Sammy brought their Apple Vision Pro.
Yes.
So we were able to imbibe and test out the Apple Vision Pro. Big moment for us. This is a tech podcast often. We've talked about the tech news world.
Yeah, we're a tech cast.
Talk about VR, AI, the impact of AI on our society moving forward. We talked about it at length. So that was the first time I've ever had to try the Apple Vision Pro. It was pretty good. Although, for being as tech focused as I am, I was still using it incorrectly with
Really?
The pinching. Because you're supposed to there's a setup where you pinch the things on screen. But the way you're supposed to use the Apple Vision Pro is you just look at what you want to select and then you pinch. I was still using my hand to mouse over a maroon to pinch. So it screwed up my whole experience, but it still looked incredible. Proto, what did you think of the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's really, to me, the most novel thing about it is that your eyes are like your mouse cursor. And it's pretty incredible because I've never experienced anything like that before. So playing with it for a few minutes, it was really cool. I did the dinosaur demo where I'm there in the restaurant and this window opens up, looks like a giant TV screen, and then there's like dinosaurs walking in like this wilderness, but then they like step out and step into the room in the restaurant with you. It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
We're open to sponsorships with Apple. We can do more conversations like this.
Listen, we can make something happen. I mean, we weren't able to. I really wanted to try Avatar 2, The Way of Water, or like a trailer or something with that 3D, because I've heard that the 3D Avatar is legit, and I can just imagine, sitting at home, comatose, just watching Avatar, The Way of Water, while stuffing my face with like cheese poofs or something. But yeah, a lot of fun, great weekend, and then later that night, I actually went back because it was like one of my birthday gifts, my request. I said I wanted to go back to see RoboCop later that night at the Highway with Amanda and James. So that was the first time I'd ever seen RoboCop in theaters.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was a lot of fun. I had a dumb grin on my face for like the first 25 minutes of the movie. I couldn't stop grinning. And it's the first time I've watched this movie also like in a community group setting. So it was like a comedy almost. Like so many people were laughing like hysterically at so many scenes that I just generally kind of like smirk or chuckle at home. But there was like full on laughter. So James had seen it before, but this was also his like first time viewing since he's gotten a little bit older. So he had a great time. And I was able to like video him rating RoboCop 5 stars on Letterboxd like right after the movie, which was cracking me up hysterically. So great evening, great day. Great day at the movies. What more can you ask for?
Yeah.
But Dan, you haven't watched any movies the last week.
No,
you refuse to watch movies? You're done with movies? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. I think I've pulled the plug on movies. In general.
You've done all you can with the format.
Yeah, I looked back and I was like, I don't know why I didn't. I got not addicted. I go like in waves of watching Twitch while I work. So it's just been a week where I've been watching a lot of, Twitch players playing Apex.
Who's your top 3 Twitch streamers for Apex?
Well, I usually stick with Hal. I'll watch Hal play Apex.
Yeah.
Mandy. I like Mandy. He's in Denmark. And Shiv. I watch Shiv play. I love Shiv.
International.
Yeah. None of them are. Oh, well, I guess Hal's in America, I think.
Did they ever solve the big cheating scandal at the ALGS?
I don't know, actually. I don't know if they fixed it.
I actually just saw there was a big video that just dropped from this cybersecurity expert guy on YouTube where he thinks he's like, he knows where he is by doing some like internet detective
sleuthing
work. He's cross-referencing different accounts, getting emails, yada, yada. So he thinks he's onto something.
You think he's wearing Apple Vision Pro while he's hacking?
God.
Enough gaming talk. We just released a Cinema Paradiso episode to our patrons, and a new hat dropped on our storefront, vhsvillage.com. The Cinema Paradiso logo, gorgeous. There's been a lot of talk. Can we get some stickers made at all these beautiful logos?
I will.
Please.
I'm sorry.
I would order like 25 stickers.
No, you wouldn't.
Right now. If we had those logos up, the 70mm WWF logo, that's on the Jeep day. That's a day one Jeep sticker right there.
Okay. All right.
Day one.
I love when Danny's working hard and like whenever he adds anything to the store, the first response from anybody is like, "Hey, could you actually also do this thing too?"
Because it's almost like someone is opening the fridge, and if you can ask them while the door is still open, it's okay.
Throw me a cold one.
Perdo, what about you? Did you watch any movies this week?
Oh yeah. I've been working. Put some work in. Of course, continuing my Criterion challenge. One of the challenges is to cover an animated movie from the Criterion list. So I picked Watership Down, which is from 1978. And it's based on a book. I've read the book and I've seen this animated movie years ago. It's directed by Martin Rosen, who has like one other animated movie. So it's not from like, I actually don't really know the history of this. It's kind of it's not from like a big, it's not a Bakshi or a Disney movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this one-off thing. But I was thinking before I put it on if I should like tell my kids, ask them if they want to watch it. I didn't though, because I remember being kind of weird, and it is super weird. I kind of just thought of it as like, it's like rabbits, like Mad Max with rabbits. There's like really brutal like gore in some of the the scenes of this. It's like gets really dark at the end, but then it also has like this crazy like deity stuff in it of like the rabbits like religion almost. I remember that it's pretty heavy in the book, and they kind of dive into it in the movie. But it's an interesting flick. Like if you like all things animated, I think it's definitely worth checking out. It's a little jarring. Like it's not like a super polished, animated movie, but I think it's worth watching because I think the story is pretty cool. And it's it's probably one of the best movies I've seen all year. I gave it 3 stars.
Oh my God.
Classic.
Can we get that on a shirt while the fridge is open, Danny?
Yeah.
One of the best movies I've seen all year, 3 stars.
And then I also watched Clueless.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I was sitting down with Jenna at night. She made it out of putting the kids to bed. Doesn't always get there, get there. She got back to the couch. And she told me, like, let's watch Clueless finally, because this was her favorite movie growing up. She says she's seen it so many times. She went to get something in the kitchen, and I went to pause it, and she was like, "Please, you don't have to pause it." Please. But have you guys ever seen Alicia Silverstone's lips?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm launching a full investigation into her lips. I've never seen anything like this. She can move like all 4 quadrants of her lips independently. I had a great time watching this though. I know we'll do this at some point, so I want to save my thoughts for that moment. But a very fun time watching Clueless for the very first time.
She was like the biggest thing when I was growing up. The Crush, 1993. Does that movie hold up? I wonder. I would be fascinating to watch The Crush today.
I bet it doesn't.
A precocious and obsessive teenager develops a crush on a naive writer with harrowing consequences. Carrie Elwes.
Oh.
Alicia Silverstone.
She also has a Blast from the Past, which is one of my dad's favorite movies. And she stars in that with Brendan Fraser. I would love to do that at some point. It's very much like a nostalgia movie because I watched it so much growing up. But at the time, I don't even think I knew who Alicia Silverstone is. So it would be fun to go back and watch it now.
Alicia Silverstone month. Clueless, The Crush, Blast from the Past, and something.
Do Batman again.
Batman and Robin. The Killing of a Sacred Deer we could do.
Wow.
She's in that?
Yeah, I can't remember if she's like a teacher or mother in that movie.
Sacred Deer, okay.
Could be big. That could be a big month.
Yorgos.
What about Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, we got to talk about this one.
Can we get into this?
Hey, this was
what a friggin' week.
This was just dropped, this review. I just finished it. Yeah, me and Theo, my son, we watched the first one sometime last year. And then we were doing family movie night last night, and he wanted to do Spider-Man 2, but we watched Jumanji instead. So I said, Bud, we can, I said today we can watch Spider-Man 2. So we put it on. I mean, what a picture.
Oh my God.
What a friggin' picture, this Spider-Man 2. Alfred Molina as Doc Ock.
Yeah. Fire.
I was just blown away by there's so many iconic shots, like not to mention like the memes, the continued memes that came out of these Spider-Man movies, but just there's just so many shots that either look like a frame from a comic book are just like so recognizable. They're like burned into my brain.
Yeah.
So it's a special movie for sure.
Spider-Man 2 was on at Planet Fitness last week, a week before, and it was scene where the kid asks, as they're packing up, remember they're doing like the yard sale, they're moving, and the kid's like sad because Spider-Man is gone, and Aunt May goes into the speech about why Spider-Man and heroes are important to Peter. I was like tearing up on the treadmill. I was locked in, and I couldn't even like hear anything. I could just have the subtitles on. Oh my God, what a movie. Man, they were cooking with gas back then.
It's also great because, and I didn't remember this, but when the movie ends, it's Vindicated by Dashboard Confessional starts.
Absolute banger.
So you just get to sit there and like just vibe out. Vindication.
That's such a deep cut on this show.
I know.
Hopefully, I don't know if I want to explain that one. If people get it, you'll be rewarded. That's all we can say. Let's say hello to some new patrons. Samuel, Zach, Chris, Kyle, and Ashley, and Dale all joined this past week. Among many free members, they got access to the VHS Village Discord, discounts on Danny's Prince, Cinema Paradiso, Hunger Games was recently added to the vault, and Brandon became an intern. Our dear friend Brandon became an intern this week. So Brandon will be getting exclusive voting rights for future episodes. And then I always, I don't often remember to mention it, but there's a link on 70mmpod.com for you to upgrade to pro or patron status on Letterboxd at 20% off. Disclaimer, I'm a Letterboxd employee. I also use new music on the Cinema Paradiso episode. Did you notice?
Did you?
Yeah. Use different intro and outro music.
Yeah. Where'd that come from?
Spicing it up. It was a old retro YouTube find. Like 60s game show that tickled my fancy. So for these cage picks, maybe I'll stick with it. Try something new,
Love it.
Oh, Hillary, thank you. We were enjoying the music. Really fun. Okay. Oh, I was watching the scary movies because I've been sick this week. Keenan Ivory Wayne's the master of horror himself. These movies, my God, my entire youth was these scary movies.
How many did they end up making? 5 or 6?
There's 2. I stopped after 2 because I think Keenan Ivory stops after 2. Scary Movie came out in 2000 where they're doing like the slapstick satire of I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream, and a bunch of others. Oh my God. I could have quoted both of these movies as I was watching them. It was disgusting. Scary Movie 2 is the one that opens up with like the Exorcist homage with James Woods as the priest.
Oh my gosh. I've never seen any of them.
I would shudder to think what anyone would think of these movies watching them now. Like none of it holds up really, because so much of it is like parodying movies that were out around then or just before. So if you're kind of like not at that same time frame, it probably doesn't make any sense. There's also James Van Der Beek cameo that was pretty funny. That was cracking me up. I don't know. I had fun. I didn't want to rate them. I was too afraid. Also, I was passing out while watching the movie, so I don't rate those sleepy watches. Thank you, Max, for having those. Carmen Electra was in the first one. Remember Carmen Electra?
Of course.
I don't.
Get the hell out of here. Get the F out of here.
Of course I remember Carmen Electra. God.
Okay, enough. Should we get into our movie this week? Episode 212, The Innocents, 1961. This is my pick for 60s month. Jack Clayton, Deborah Kerr, Turn of the Screw. Ever heard of it?
We lay, my love and I, beneath a weeping willow.
Pardo, what's this movie about?
Miss Giddens is a governess who has landed a dream job: oversee the rearing of 2 orphans living in a countryside estate, Bly Manor. Flora and Miles are happy, bright children who had the unfortunate experience of witnessing the deaths of this estate's valet and their previous governess, Miss Jessel. Miss Giddens begins seeing the dead and is convinced that the children are haunted by them and their past memories. Believing that their only salvation is traumatizing them any chance she can get, Miss Giddens will stop at nothing to destroy these children's lives. Innocent.
Mamma mia. Danny, you don't have really a history with this movie. This is a first time watch for you, I think.
Yeah, because how hard it is to kind of find. I think you guys had talked about it early, like a while ago, and I just didn't really want to watch it on YouTube. I watched the Criterion version of it, the 1080p, absolute stunning remaster of this film.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad to have waited and not have watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, I have the Criterion disc, which could probably be a library grab if folks want to get that. It does look incredible. I'm not going to name names, but I did get a DM from someone who was not happy with the 720p transfer on YouTube. Proto, what's your backstory with The Innocents?
My backstory is I watched it on YouTube. Yeah, I watched it. I guess it was like after you. It was maybe like 6 months or so after you watched it the first time.
Right. And it has been on the Criterion channel intermittently since then too.
Yes, it has. Yeah, I watched it then on YouTube. I gave it 5 stars the first time I watched it. I was blown away. Too. Yeah, I went hard on my first review because I was really taken by the story and just the themes therein. And yeah, I don't think before that I had heard of it. And I mean, Slim, you watch a lot of horror movies, so it's not like, it's not like I'm watching everything you recommend. But this one from 1961, black and white, Clayton, it was, kind of interesting. And I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah. I remember when I first saw it, I think I was mainly shocked by it. I was shocked by the themes and the story and the ending. And I was kind of like, not that I'm some connoisseur, amateur vibes on the show, obviously, but I felt like, why aren't people talking about this movie? Like, this is crazy. 1961, and this is like what happens in it, and it looks this good. So I was really blown away by it the first time I watched it. So I watched it twice again this week. So we'll go around the room. We'll jot down, when we watch these movies, we jot down a few notes, and we'll go through our notes in a roundtable fashion. Then we'll give our final thoughts and Letterboxd rating. It's hard to come up with like one thing to maybe kick off our discussion, but I think all of us have said this at some point in a review or have read this interview, but like the black and white in this movie, like, was colorizing film a mistake after 1961? Like, why did we ever add color to movies? The cinematography in this is insane. I have the cinematographer, Freddie Francis. First of all, what an amazing name. But this is one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen. And there's so many moments that I would presume is like natural lighting, and there's just an abundance of darkness, and a character is just, placed so well in the shot. The scenes where she's walking around with the candlelight at night, it's just like mind-blowing how gorgeous this movie is. And then even in daylight, where it's black and white, it's daylight, but like there's so many stunning shots where like she sees Miss Jessel in the fields, or she thinks she sees Miss Jessel in the fields. It's amazing. Paul just dropped other movies that Freddie Francis has shot: The Elephant Man, Cape Fear, and Dune. Excuse me, the OG Dune. But yeah, like this is one of those movies where it just feels so right that it was black and white, because they had just kind of like the correct people behind the camera to make sure that every shot in this movie just hum like constantly. Proto, what did you think of the visuals in this?
Yeah, I mean, I watched it in 720p. So I the whole time I was kind of kicking myself. I was like, dang it, I wish I would have just bought the Criterion a week ago to watch it that way, which now I'm thinking I probably will. Because if I foresee myself watching this many more times, and I would want to watch it in that way. But yeah, it's just so gorgeous. Like you said, the really dark scenes are just incredible, where it looks like Miss Giddens, Deborah Kerr's character, she's like holding a lamp, and it looks like the darkness is almost going to swallow her, as if like it's just trying to take out the candle. It looks really amazing. And then you can tell in the other shots, like at night with other characters, there's like a really strong shadow behind them. So they obviously have like some really strong light hitting them. But at the same time, it didn't feel like they were in a spotlight. Or maybe that's just like the advantages you get with black and white. But I always love that. I almost don't even care. Just like the strong contrast that they have throughout this movie. It just looks so good.
Oh my God. Paul just dropped to create such sharp visuals. Freddie Francis used a lot of huge bright lamps, and Kerr sometimes had to resort to wearing sunglasses between takes. He also had candles custom made with 4 or 5 wicks entwined to produce more light.
Wow.
Freddie Francis, the God. Danny, what did you think of the visuals?
The visuals. This was the one. I don't remember this ever happening in another watch where I got so caught up in what I was watching, I wasn't keeping up with the story, and I was like, I don't know what they just said. I have to rewind this because there was so much that I wanted to see, so much I wanted to look at. What was blowing my mind is how many shots were like up close of Deborah, but then there was like she was like talking in like to either the housekeeper in the background. Everything was in focus. So everything I wanted to look at, like there was like nothing was making me look at one thing and keeping my focus on. Like I kept like looking around the manor, the grounds. And my favorite scene is the scene where she's walking around with the 4-wick candle, the 4-candle candelabra. I couldn't get over how brilliant it was to shoot her with a spotlight as if that was what the candle was lighting, her walking around. It kept your focus so sharp on her. And that whole walking through the manor bit was just insane to me. I couldn't get over it. There's like a 30-minute documentary you can watch that they did on the making of this film, and they talk about, I think they talked about how they had to force him to use like specific widescreen cameras or something, and it's insane. I don't know of another. I mean, maybe the Psycho 4K restoration is what kind of comes to mind when I think of like perfect black and white films, but this is up there. And this has to be up there with that one.
Freddie also shot The Straight Story, David Lynch, and Glory. Pardon, weren't you talking about wanting to do Glory? Yeah.
Glory.
Holy cow.
And School Ties, that Brendan Fraser movie. Yeah. So he's done some good work. Dean, what's the top of your list?
It really was the cinematography. I don't know if we can keep going on it, but one thing that I loved about it, and I loved how it was shot in a way to also be like a part of the tension and a part of the like atmospheric kind of eeriness of the film. I just felt like it was almost like a character in and of itself, just the cinematography alone. Just the use of lights, the light and shadow, creating the sense of like this ambiguity or like fear.
Yeah.
It was fun to like question what you were seeing, if it was supernatural, or if it was just like figments of her own imagination. It's a film that I want to like revisit more often because it was just blowing my mind.
Yeah, the scene where she thinks that she sees Quint outside, and it's just like the long shot of just her face in kind of like terror, not moving, and she just stands there. You know, that kind of like slow emotional shot. You don't really see that in other movies.
Yeah.
Like they just take their time and it just stayed with her face and her reacting to it. I thought that was genius.
Yeah, I had one of my notes is literally just Deborah Kerr's scary face. Like her face told so much of a story the whole time.
Mhm.
Like she could have had no dialogue and she could have told the entire story with just her expressions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's like, because I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but by the end of it, there's like when she's with Miles, she almost looks like ghoulish.
Yeah.
Like she looks scary in that scene. And just like she like just transformed through just like changing her face was pretty incredible.
The kids even say that. Doesn't Miles even say that about how she like almost looks ugly
Yeah.
when she furrows her brow or something like that? There was something else I was going to say about Deborah. There's many scenes where at a certain point she's like starting to wonder what's wrong with these kids. Is there something going on with the two people that have died, Jessel and Quint? And the kids will do something and then she'll like react in a almost slightly horrified face, only for a few seconds, and then it'll pass. Those are the things that I really caught on like the rewatch, where many scenes she's almost just like kind of freaked out by something that happens, but lets it slide and life continues on. Very strange. Pardo, what's the top of your list?
Top of my list is like the first viewing, the full body chills at certain moments of this movie that I get. And the fact that I had seen this movie already and it still happened, and not like a normal, like it was almost like I got like a hot flash and then like full body chills. And for a movie to do that, I think is pretty impressive, especially to do it twice, because I remember having the same experience. And the two moments that get me is, and knowing that it's coming, but still when she sees Miss Jessel out in the lake.
Yeah.
I just think that scene is just so brilliant in how haunting it is, that here you have like this horror or like, thriller ghost story. And one of the scariest things in this is a shot in broad daylight of you just seeing a figure standing in the distance.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting chills just talking right now. But it is just so good how it unfolds.
It homage with Tim Curry out in the water. Yeah, it's an amazing shot. There's so many, like, that's my favorite shot in the movie, but it's so well done. It just looks haunting. And it's broad daylight, it's black and white. And I think they replicate this in the Haunting of Bly Manor Netflix, series as well. But man, that shot is so good. There's also, Paul dropped the other shot of like seeing the adult figure at the top of the tower that she sees. And then even that is done so well because, they make it look like the sun is in her eyes, so she can't really know what she's seeing. Mm-hmm. And then the sun gets in her eyes again and the figure's not there. Like that is done so well. And then there's the other shot where Jessel is in the schoolroom. Remember when she's like sitting in the chair? And then the camera follows her with the camera on her walking to the chair, and then it pans and the chair is empty. And I've never seen a reveal done that way because like she was never in the chair in that shot when they started it. It's just like they just show that Deborah is like freaked out that she's not there. It's just so bizarre the way that was done, but it works. It's still so cool how they did that.
The one shot that gave me the chills, since we're talking about chills, what was the name of the guy? The ground
Peter Quint.
Yeah, Peter Quint. When she first sees him through the glass.
Yeah.
And when his face pulls back and he fades out, two like little dots of reflection in his eyes kind of stay burned into like the screen. And he fades out and there's just like two little dots left. It like sent chills down my spine. Like I was just like, oh my God. It's like insanely incredible. And it gave me the chills. I want to go back and just watch that scene again because it was incredibly shot.
Paul mentioned it earlier, but even just the opening credits of her like praying, her hands, praying. Such a bizarre way to open a movie too, and close a movie.
Yeah,
but man, it's sick.
Apparently, it was a big deal that it was the 20th Century Fox, and they chose to not open with the fanfare.
Oh,
they went straight into her, like the music and her praying.
Let's see. Next on my list, I mean, every time. So the first time we watched this, my wife and I, we were kind of like shocked by the ending.
Yeah.
She has this theory that if she thinks the kids are about to be possessed or have been possessed by these two former employees on the grounds, and she tries to force the girl to see Miss Jessel in the fields, and that's how they'll break the possession. Doesn't really make any sense, but
that makes no sense.
This is very early on in the possession game. So she thinks that she can do the same for Miles. She sends everyone away. She wants to force Miles to see Quint and break this possession. At the end, she thinks she's done it, and Miles is freed, and just the visuals of that scene is just very cool. But at the end, Miles dies.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you think he was freed of any possession is open to question. And then the movie ends with like her kissing him, and then the sounds of like the animals or the what do you call that? Just background audio of the grounds playing. It's very well done. But all that to say is like it leaves it open to whether or not there was actually any possession to begin with. Like, was she just imagining all of this, and she's just going kind of over the wall? Like, so Danny, what did you think on your first viewing? Do you think there actually was possession from these former grounds, or was Miss Giddens just kind of not all the way there to begin with and forced, because they leave it open in all those sightings. No one else can see anything. It's only her that sees it.
Right. She's the one that sees everything. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about the ending, because I think I watched it alone, and when it happened, I leaned up and I'm like, it just ended. Like he dies after she kisses him for way too long on the lips for the second time in this film. And he's just dead. And I couldn't believe it. I honestly was shocked that this was an ending of a film in the 60s. It just blew my mind. As far as I want to believe there is possession because it's more fun that way. But it's really however you interpret it. I mean, she kind of loses it at the end, but not really. She's not losing it to the point where like I feel she's insane. I think the house is driving her nuts, but also the kids are crazy. The kids are bonkers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's possession.
I love the interpretation that it's all in Miss Giddens' head. Because I think one of the most horrifying things in life is when people in power think they are doing something, they are doing the right thing, the good thing, and they're actually doing great harm. Like that is a terrifying reality that is very common, that is with us all the time. So the fact that this woman would come along, and you could imagine, you could make up like maybe she has some kind of psychological issue, or she has some kind of trauma in her past, or maybe she's just like super religious and she's seeing the devil at work everywhere she turns. So there's many reasons for that. But the idea that there's nothing wrong actually, and that these kids are completely fine, and that this woman on her own initiative traumatizes the one girl to who knows what end and kills the boy. Like that's a pretty terrifying conclusion to this story. But it works either way, and that's what's so great about it is that you can take it however you want.
1961. What were people thinking leaving the theater?
They had to be calling the cops.
Truman
Jack
Capote.
Clayton arrested.
Throwing no punches.
It's like such a quiet. You're walking out in like silence potentially. With her like praying, and then the song eventually playing. Good Lord. Yeah, I don't know. It is fascinating I saw one comment that said, where did I write it? Like talking about how the ghosts essentially could be metaphors for like the sexual repression and her trying to protect the kids from it, because they do talk about how the kids like walked in on Quint and Jessel doing something. Like there's just mass allusions to Quint and Jessel just kind of being horny and sexual, and the kids being influenced by that. So that is a fascinating way to think of it, but I don't know. What did I wrote down? She says in the beginning of the movie, more than anything, I love children. Bad way to start the movie, considering the ending. What even is a governess? Is it a nanny? Is that just a fancy way of saying a nanny?
I think it's more.
Yeah, I think it's like a
teacher.
nanny live-in teacher.
Oh, okay.
Like from Sound of Music.
Sound of we might be doing Sound of Music to close out the
Casey's
month.
typing. She's going to let us know.
It's a Sound of Music comment.
Time to watch that.
We'll see if that wins the vote in soon. I think we got to put that poll up soon to choose the final movie of the month. Danny, next on your list.
I want to talk about Miles, the actor that plays Miles. And I think his performance is why I lean towards Possession, because he plays it so well. He feels so much older than his age.
Yeah.
Like he's very put together, always put together. But also there's something about his presence that just feels grown up. How his expressions, how he stands and holds himself. He really is such a good kid actor. I mean, I don't really enjoy the sister's performance as much. It's just, I think it's a bit, but Miles is like, he's dynamic in this film. I couldn't get over it. He felt like a creepy possessed kid. He didn't just feel like, I don't know, just another child actor, just turning out a performance. Like this kid was on.
It's like British Toto from Cinema Paradiso.
Yeah, British Toto.
evil Toto.
It was just brilliant. I love when there's a good kid actor, because it just adds an incredible level to what the story you're telling. And when you're talking about, is this an imagination or is this possessed kids? A lot hinges on these performances, and Miles he's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the scene towards the end where Gideon sends everyone away and she can't find Miles. And then he comes back and he's like, there you are. Been hiding from me or something. And like, it's almost like you're like, oh my gosh, he's ready to go toe to toe with her. He knows what's going on here. And they get into like a mind battle in that moment.
Yeah.
But then at one point he like runs away and you're like, oh my God, he is still just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you could have like these conflicting feelings about this character where you think like, oh, he can handle himself. He's Miles. Like he can talk his game and he's got it. But then you see like that vulnerable moment where he's like, oh no, this is just like a 10-year-old kid who's dealing with this crazy governess.
So here you are. I say, are we having tea in here?
Yes, Miles.
How very grand and grown up.
Yes. And we can talk together now, like adults.
Jolly nice, I call it. I feel quite the master of the house. Where are the servants?
They've gone home.
Oh, did you send them? Or did they take fright and run away?
What do you mean?
Well, you're afraid, and perhaps you made them so.
And of what? Assuming you are right. Of what am I afraid, Miles?
I'm not a mind reader, my dear. I've told you that before. But I do sense things. Don't worry, there's a man in the house.
Is there?
Yes, me. I'll protect you.
Yeah, they straddle the line so well in those final scenes with the two of them. Because like I was watching it to try to view it as what if there is no possession, and in my view, he was like always just a kid. And like, I could see, well, he's just a kid. He's just being a doof, like to get a rise out of her. And it worked. Like, I don't know if he's really possessed. He never really tips his like hand to, yeah, I'm possessed. I felt like towards the end. It's still so vague and open to your own view of those scenes, I think.
The neck snapped pigeon doesn't do it for you?
No.
Under his pillow at night?
No.
That doesn't scream possession.
I mean, even remember when he's like strangling her in the attic and she's freaking out? Like even that, I could be like, well, he's just a kid. I don't know.
I don't.
But at the same time, I guess at the same time, you could say the same thing. Well, yep, that screams possession.
Yeah,
so they do so well of blending things.
When he kisses her though, and it goes for like 3 seconds too long, I'm like, holy cow.
Proto, I think.
I love the writing in this. I think the dialogue. I think it's really great. There are some lines that Miles says that it's like, yeah, this kid has to be possessed because there's no way he's saying this. When Flora is freaking out in the classroom and he's like yelling at her to stop, and then he was like, you're begging. And then she like screams and he's like, you're begging first for attention and now for affection. I was like, like the thought of like a kid putting that together of like, first observing something like that and then coming to like that conclusion as to like, this is what, like his emotional intelligence in that to be able to like determine that is like, that's like, yeah, either this kid is like very special or he's possessed. But again, like they toe it really, the line really well. The other line I love, and I mean, I think the fact that Truman Capote did this, you can really just like tell like just the strength of the writing. But I love the scene of him reading the poem.
Oh my God.
That scene is so amazing.
Ridiculous.
Because it feels like that like pushes Giddens over the edge because where it's like, Quint is his lord and he's welcoming him into this house, into his body. Like this is what has to be going on. That whole scene, the way it plays out, it's just so good. I love that. The first time I saw this, I was like, I'm ready to get a tattoo of that poem on my back.
What shall I sing to my lord from my window? What shall I sing, for my lord will not stay? What shall I sing, for my lord will not listen? Where shall I go, for my lord is away? Whom shall I love when the moon is arisen? Gone is my lord, and the grave is his prison. What shall I say when my lord comes a-calling? What shall I say when he knocks on my door? What shall I say when his feet enter softly, leaving the marks of his grave on my floor? Enter, my lord, come from your prison, come from your grave, for the moon is arisen. Welcome, my lord.
Can we get a sticker that says "Welcome, my lord"?
I'll do the sticker.
Add that to the list, Danny.
Yep.
Let's see. My final point. I think we've covered everything. Let me see if I have anything else in my honorable mentions. Well, like I would love to see what this dude's, the uncle, like his nightlife is. They make allusions to his like,
right.
He loves the city life. He can't like be a father. What is he getting into in this day and age where he's just like partying constantly? Is he just having sex all the time in the city? He can't come home to manage these kids. So bizarre. It's not his way. Or was that like the housekeeper talking about him?
The housekeeper, yeah.
How about these? They're playing hide and seek and they count to 100. My God, how long? You got to count to 100 on these grounds. That's how big the house is. Could be there all day playing hide and go seek.
One round, take you an hour.
She says to me, Gibbons, there's one scene I read, I can't remember exactly, but I think she's telling the housekeeper that she saw Quint, and she says it was him, and then you can hear the kids laugh like psychopaths, like outside of that room or something. That was nutty. Danny, final point.
Yeah, we've covered so much. I think it has an incredible bit of music, and I love the repeated humming of that tune from the music box. So eerie. I think we talked pretty much about everything. Deborah Kerr is amazing in this film.
Yeah,
I find her to be, I don't think I've only ever seen Black Narcissus with her. Narcissus?
I have no idea.
Am I saying it wrong? Hold on, let me pull it up.
I think you nailed it.
Black Narcissus.
Both sound right to me.
Yeah. Another like Technicolor incredible film that she's in. Yeah. I'm out of things to talk about.
I actually have that on VHS somewhere in
Do
here.
you?
Yeah. It was one of my dad's tapes. Found that when I was going through his stuff. Gotta fire that bad boy up. I wrote down that other kiss, the dead bird under his pillow, and then he kisses her. Creepy. The camera stays on her lips, and then his freaky face. That's what I wrote down. I don't remember writing that.
Fugue state.
Boy, Pardo, final note?
We didn't really talk much about Mrs. Gross or Miss Gross, the housekeeper. But yeah, I think I loved that character too. Just side by side as like she's the only one. If this is all in Gideon's head, Gross is pretty much the one who has like the responsibility to like stand up for these kids and protect them, or to like step in and do something. Because she pretty much failed them before. Like if you got two people in the house porking, in a room ajar, and these kids are walking by. Like, come on, someone's got to say something, do something. But she didn't do something then. These two people are dead. And then here comes this new governess who's like driving these kids mad. And she doesn't do anything. So the way she just kind of like stands by and doesn't step in and rescue is pretty like haunting as well, of just like enabling Giddens.
Yeah, I liked how at one point where she tries to send her off with a girl to our bachelor, and she's like, well, what am I to tell him? And she's like, the truth. And it's almost like there's this giant disconnect about what is going on, like what is really happening. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Was there anything to her finding Jessel's grave? There's a shot of her like either laying across the grave, or she like comes across. I was like, I couldn't figure out what they were showing when they found her grave.
Oh, is that when they were like at church?
Yeah.
That's where the grave was.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't remember.
Yeah, I don't really remember. The other thing, what else was I going to say? You mentioned the disconnect that they had. Oh yeah, all those conversations that they had where you could feel the disconnect because Giddens assumed that everyone was seeing what she was seeing, and it was obvious that Gross wasn't. But they were both on this separate page. It was like maddening to watch it, because there's like 5 or 6 conversations like that in this, where Giddens thinks she saw everything as well, but they never just like come out and say the thing that they think happened. It's great.
I kept waiting for Gross to kind of be in on something. Like I thought either she was going to be like possessed herself and trying to like steer the narrative for Deborah Kerr, but she just kind of plays it straight until she gets shipped off with the kid.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting.
Great shot too of them leaving in that horse carriage.
Oh,
so good. Let me see. I'm at 5 stars still for The Innocents. I love this movie. I feel like it should be talked about with, movies like Psycho in terms of black and white horror, influential horror. And like this has been adapted. Like this is an adaptation of turn of the screw. So it's been like, there's a couple different versions of this story out and about. But I love it. It's beautiful. There's just so many interesting angles to this movie. How about when Miles he was with those birds? Just hang out with birds like that?
Yeah.
Do you have friends like that? Hang out with birds?
Yeah, my wife.
They just rest on your wife like that?
Excuse me.
I mean, he had like 8 birds on him. Let me see if there's any other honorable mentions.
You watched Haunting of Bly Manor, correct?
Yeah, I did.
What did you think of that? Is that anywhere near this?
No. Haunting of Bly. Let me see if my Letterboxd review is still up. Letterboxd. I think there are some really awesome parts of Haunting of Bly Manor, but it's like my main thing with his Netflix stuff, Mike Flanagan, is just like there's no one kind of like reining in. It's 9 hours, like that season. And I think there was one episode where I was like sobbing. It was so good. Like episode 7 or 8, like blew me away. And I thought that would have been a perfect ending for what he had constructed. But then it goes on for like another episode and again and again. I think there's some brilliance in Haunting of Bly Manor. So if you enjoyed this and haven't watched that yet, I think you should do it. But I wouldn't go in with like extreme expectations that it'll be just like this. It's very different. Any final thoughts?
You know what I thought about at the end of this? I know it wasn't a haunted house story. I mean, it's kind of, but the vibes of being in this manor, walking around, the candelabra, the incredible shots of this. I got like irrationally mad that we have 2 kind of shit haunted mansion movies from Disney. Like it's kind of mad. Like I feel like the story of like the ride itself lends itself to like an incredible black and white. Like if they pulled off a black and white haunted mansion movie telling the ride story, I just feel like it'd be incredible like this, but they just keep doing these nothing burger films. And I don't know. I really thought about it. Like at the end, I was like, man, I really wish someone would have, Guillermo del Toro or whoever was like tapped before. Anyway, this is a 5-star film. I love this movie. I couldn't get over. I kept thinking about it afterwards, and I just couldn't believe what I had seen. I mean, it's a gorgeous film. To watch it just for the technical aspect of it alone is worth the time. But it's a great story. It's a well performed, and I love this film.
Pardon?
After Nosferatu comes out, maybe I'll give a call to Robert Eggers, see what he's doing.
Oh my God.
Get Eggers, please.
What?
Do a haunted mansion movie
what
in
if
black and white.
Nosferatu slaps?
Oh, it's gonna slap. I will be directing my mental energy towards Nosferatu after Alien Romulus comes out.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I'm at 5 stars too. It's one of my favorite horror movies, top 5, easy for me. I just love it. I'll be watching again and again. Can't wait to share it with people.
Yeah, this definitely feels like Halloween rotation. Easily.
Big time. Get the Criterion Blu-ray. It's gorgeous. I think it's a 2K from a 4K restoration, so it is beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, I don't know how much better a 4K would look, but I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works.
It doesn't matter. They nailed it this time.
I don't know. Perno, do we have any community reviews tagged 70mm Pod in particular that you wanted to highlight? I saw like 5 pages of reviews this week.
Jesus.
Tagged 70mm Pod on Letterboxd.
Yeah, we had people watching along. Let's see. Some thoughts. How about this one? We had, not everyone has to love it. Our friend Morton Bro gave it 2 stars.
Oh.
He said low-key feeling like a fake film fan for not getting why people love this. It looks good and it's somewhat eerie, especially in its sound design. But the plot is a dud for me, and enough of a focus that I didn't appreciate the technical aspects as much.
Woof.
There you go. Not for everybody. I did read some of that, a little slow. People thought it was a little slow, a little plotting, which I can understand.
Right.
Big amateur vibes.
Did you read the breaking news this week that Millie Bobby Brown doesn't have time to watch movies? She can't devote enough focus to movies.
She's
They're
just
too
like
long.
me.
They're too long. She can't do it.
She has busy work
long.
weeks.
She's probably watching Hal on Twitch.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Jasher said, he gave it 3 stars. Sorry, but I'm never having anything to do with little kids ever again. Or big houses or turtles. Never kissing anyone ever again either.
Yeah, that turtle went through that glass window. My God,
Jesus.
the poor little guy.
God.
Oh, boy. All right. We have a VM.
Okay.
From Tom with an H.
Hey everyone, it's Tom Mook here. So, you guys decide, after reawakening my past trauma from Ghostwatch, this week you go for The Innocents. Unbelievable. I actually watched this earlier the year, thanks to the amazing 70mm Rejected podcast. This film is so stylish, adventurous cinematography, wild mysterious story, and some very interesting hats. How good was that little boy at switching from an innocent angel to a brutal male predator? However, I'm really calling to say I needed to find a film that could give me a warm hug. Miyazaki came to mind, and I started listening to your episode on My Neighbor Totoro.
Yes.
You were all gushing over it so much. I paused the pod and went to watch it for the first time. Man, what a beautiful film. So I was wondering what your warm hug films are.
Warm hug.
Oh my gosh. Carlito's Way.
Oh, man.
I'm
A
going
warm
through-
hug film.
I'm trying to look and see what where my faves list is on Letterboxd.
Keeping it in the Studio Ghibli, definitely. I love putting on Howl's Moving Castle whenever I need a comfort movie. For whatever reason, that one is like the one I'm drawn to put on.
One movie I'm waiting for a 4K of. I think there's a 4K one exists, but it's in one of those like Warner's sets. Is North by Northwest. I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's a warm hug movie. Return of the Living Dead.
Cripes.
Oh,
God, what a friggin' picture.
Goodness. I think there's two movies that I put on to have like the warm fuzzies. And it's so rad. I watched The Breakfast Club and I watched Ferris Bueller's. Those two I did. I just put it on when I need something like that.
Tom mentioned the 70mm Rejected pod, which our community makes episodes about alleged rejected movies from this podcast. They
Maybe
covered
check
The
the legal.
Innocents in the past because I think it might have lost a vote at some point.
No
So
one knows.
No one really knows how the 70mm Rejected pod chooses their movies. There's a lot of happenstance and vagaries discussed. So
I can't keep up.
That's all I have to say about that. All right, next week, Proto, it's your movie. What do we have in store for us? What's next week? We've already announced it, but for folks that skipped last week, what's on the docket?
we're going back to Akira Kurosawa and his movie High and Low.
Streaming on Criterion and Max right now. Proto just put a big league chew in his mouth.
I don't know
when
what
asked.
he just put in his mouth.
It's the baseball season has started. He's putting these big league chews. He's popping them
Opening
left and
day.
right.
Yeah.
An executive of a shoe company becomes a victim of extortion when his chauffeur's son is kidnapped and held for ransom. 4.6 average on Letterboxd. It's number
God.
6 on the Letterboxd top 250.
That's insane.
Wow. Wow. Let me pull up V'ger. Remember V'ger? The supercomputer who loves movies that Proto built. I gotta go to our website and punch it in here. But I'm gonna punch in this movie to see what community members have thought of this movie. Last update from V'ger was Casablanca.
Oh my God.
When we covered that. I don't even want to think about how long ago that was. Let's see. A lot of reviews in here from our community. Josh J left a review. The water pressure coming out of that shower is unreal. Emily, 0 square inches of frame space wasted. I also love how V'ger just like cuts off certain sentences. So like it spotlights Kev's review and it's just, how about? Lucas, so many characters are in a lot of the shots. Who knows what the rest of that sentence says? Not Jada Kiss, masterpiece. So next week, High and Low, The Innocents is a wrap. No more horror movies, I guess, for the foreseeable future. We had 2 in a row.
Get it out of here.
You know, maybe we take a break. It's not my decision. I would do horror movies constantly, folks. You know I would. Pardo, any closing thoughts this week?
Yeah, you know what? It's spring. Go out and plant something and then watch it grow. It's a great thing to do this time of year. If you've never done it, especially, go put a plant in the ground. That's my life pro tip.
Life pro tip. We'll see everybody next week for High and Low.
Put it in a sticker.
$70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large Dale_A. And music composed by Cinematric. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to pro or patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.